Now, while Ivan and I were out playing another game, which we will touch on a different mini Gen Con 2014 episode, Jonathan here was over playing another great game. What were you playing, Jonathan?
I was playing Sheriff of Nottingham by Arcane Wonders. So, if you've watched our Gen Con podcast preview episode, you may remember that the one big game that you were surprised wasn't on my list was Sheriff of Nottingham, because I didn't put it on my list, didn't know much about it. So I sat down on a whim to demo it while at the show, and had I known how much I would have enjoyed it, it certainly would have made my list. So before we sat down, the guy demoing it said to everyone, I warn you, after playing this tomorrow morning, you will come back here and want to buy it. and because they don't have any more for today, they're going to be back tomorrow. And he was correct, at least in my case. So the way the game works is each player is trying to sell goods. So there's basic things like apples, bread, and cheese. But you also have contraband, illegal things, which are worth much more. And
Always.
Right, of course. And each player actually has a little pouch that actually snaps shut on the front. And each turn, one player is the sheriff, and that rotates each round. And everyone puts any number up to 5 cards from their hand into the pouch. Could be a mix of contraband or anything. So legally, so to speak, what you're allowed to do is it has to be all one type. So normally you would, if you were playing legitimately, you would say I have 2 breads, and that you put 2 cards in there. But you could lie, and you could say, oh, I have 3 cheeses, and it could be 1 cheese, 1 apple, and 1 contraband. And the way it works is the sheriff is allowed to look in anyone's sealed bag. And if they find out that you were lying, you lose the card, you don't get to sell it, and you have to pay them a certain price, like usually it's about half of the card's worth.
So they can look in as many bags as they want?
They can look in all of them. So
what would stop you from doing that?
Very good question. Because if they look in your bag and you weren't lying, they have to pay you for all of the things that you had in there that were legal. So it becomes a risk of how much you think someone is lying. And the other great thing is they can just pick up the bag and look at it, and you can bribe them. So you can say, I'll pay you 3 coins. Each player starts with 50 coins. I'll pay you 3 coins to not open that. And someone else can say, I'll give you 4 coins if you do. So this is definitely a game all about spite. And if you're with a group of friends that you know well, there's going to be a lot of, you messed with me last time, or I just don't like you. I will give you 20 coins to open that guy's bag.
So in other words, you and I are going to be bribing the sheriff to open each other's bags.
Constantly. The game I played was a little more subdued because we were mostly, I think it's actually 4 other people. I think each pair knew each other, so I was the lone wolf. But we didn't play a full game. We didn't even count our scores up at the end. But it was such a fun idea, especially like if it was just putting the cards face down or something, it would be okay. But something about the bag, actually having it and putting those and sealing it away, makes it so much fun.
Well, I think the thing from what you're telling the description that really piqued my interest was when you said that the sheriff can pick up the bag and hold it. I'm like, why would he say that? But then it just becomes that hilarious, you just imagine picking up and just looking at him like, well, I'm waiting.
No, that's exactly what everybody did, was like, they kind of like bring the edge up a little bit, like, I don't know, something doesn't seem right about this. 3 apples, and it can be really funny. And as our guy demoing it said, it's even better if you're drinking when half the time after because you're not allowed to open your bag again either. So sometimes, that's the other thing, because you have to tell the sheriff, each person one at a time, what they put in it. They have to look them in the eye. That's a rule in the game. So
so I can't.
No, right. So sometimes you don't even remember what you put in there. So you might if they ask you again, you might be like, you have to make something up. So there's a lot. If you're like bluffing games, like anything, in the same vein, different but sort of the kind of thing like Resistance or Love Letter or Masquerade. This is that kind of fun game. The theme is cool. It's very easy to learn, and I think, it's fun for gamers, but anybody could pick this up and have a blast.
So this looks like another game we're gonna have to rush tomorrow
Yes.
morning to get.
I'm definitely am.
Well, hopefully we'll have this game as well as another to show you tomorrow.
That would be awesome.
But
As well as maybe more than one other even. Anyway, if you liked what you heard, you want to hear about it, I think the game is not officially released until a month or so out in the future, unfortunately, so you can't pick it up yet. But if you want to let us know anything about Gen Con or anything else, you can email us at rollforcrit@gmail.com.
and of course you can always follow us at Roll for Crit, our Twitter, where we have and will continue to post news from Gen Con.
Indeed, we will. You can also follow us on Facebook, or actually like us on Facebook, whatever.
And of course, there is our site where they can find these videos themselves and other posts, as well as maybe get some good games.
What's our site again?
Our site is rollforcrit.com.
That's right. Thank you so much for watching, and more Gen Con stuff coming your way.
Stay tuned.